Welcome to the Regenerative Collaborative South Africa. The following is a video segment from January's webinar, From Invasive to Innovate.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I think the scale of this is probably the most difficult thing to convey, short of, I think you got some impression from the video from comments that Ross from Nivias mentioned. We're talking about something that really is a scale problem. And at the same time, we've got the scale problem of the unemployment. So as Carla said, you know, to try and bring these two together is the reason behind all of this, and not to put too fine a point on it. I mean, I think we're essentially faced with an existential crisis that's moving so slowly. You know, it's not like an earthquake or an instantaneous wildfire. It's more like the frog in the pot, the apocryphal story of the frog in the pot, where things happen slowly and it's not right in your back door, and you kind of don't really see the changes happening. But the truth is, it actually is something that needs to be dealt with at scale and rapidly. One thing we've been looking at is is first of all how the work gets done. A lot of the received wisdom is self-defeating. In other words, a lot of the work has been done the same way because the work has been done the same way. And what we're trying to bring to this is, with our diverse backgrounds and with some great advisors and mentors that we have, to question every aspect of what happens, both work-wise in the field, as well as what could potentially be a product. And it's obviously we've made mistakes, and I think the mistakes largely have been, in one sense, our initial naivety, long since gone, and obviously the naivety about the scale of it. There's something very grounding about realizing exactly how big an area we're talking about and how much biomass there is. On an aside, if anybody wants to see that scale, you're welcome to come to our sawmill and see how much material builds up in a very short time. So this is definitely it's been a laboratory. Initially it was hypothesis. I think our hypothesis has started to change into theory, but it has been at the cost of questioning perhaps some I want to say experts, let's just say the received wisdom. And I want to say it's not for lack of their enthusiasm, but for, probably, forgive the pun, but one tends to not see the wood for the trees if you're in the environment and you've been doing it for a long time, and this is such a huge problem and you're working with lack of funds. So what happens at the moment? Team goes into the field. First of all, the survey is done. We have agreements with landowners on how the work will get done. It gets done in the Napier Mountain Conservancy, which is our pilot project, at no cost to the landowner, but we get to use the biomass. The biomass we now view as a resource, which has not been the way people view it generally, apart from the people who've come in and cherry-picked a pole here and a bush there, but left everything else. So here you can see the effects of clearing and windrowing. And it's not a simple case of just chopping something down and leaving it, because ultimately you want to use the biomass in some fashion. So the material that is viable can be used for direct products, gets removed from the field, and that which we'll process later gets taken to the depot or to a processing area. And these options vary in a lot of ways. We've had to kind of, well, not kind of, we've had to bring imagination to this, because I think that's one of the things that has been lacking. It's very easy to say, well, let's just chop a tree down and sell poles. Well, if you're looking at it from a business perspective, to generate revenue in order to fund all this work that has to happen, what is it that actually makes financial sense? So you have to look at effectively the clearing operation, which has been traditionally a NGO, non-profit, let's see how we can get funds in from wherever we can, to what we're trying to create is an environment that says, well, if we're clearing this biomass, what can we do with every single species that there is of every single type? In other words, a sapling, a tree, a log. Planks are an obvious route. but you have to be able to balance your time spent with the revenue earned to pay for this very expensive operation. So at this stage, we've got a few parallel product lines happening. Some have been effective, some not. Again, a lot of the so-called effective ones or not effective ones have been as a consequence of the received wisdom. So we're questioning each aspect of it, and we're inviting people to come up with ideas for biomass, because the more multiple product streams we can get out of a single clearing operation, the more viable the whole enterprise becomes. So what we've got at the moment is a number of parallel operations. The pallets, we've got a sawmill. We're producing compost, which we plan to certify organically. That derives from the waste from the production of pallets. Shavings will come from milling, producing timber. And the further waste that can't be used for any of those things will be compressed into extruded logs, heating logs. So ultimately, the idea is that there will be zero waste. And because we've got this enormous biomass volume, we've also engaged with Earth Science Africa, a company that specializes in carbon project financing. And they don't do the financing themselves. They do the feasibility studies, and they do all the hard work that goes into making such an operation, check that such an operation can become viable. So we partnered with them. We're working on putting in a biochar kiln, a certified biochar kiln, which will produce biochar, which will add carbon, a means of sequestering carbon and putting carbon into, in our area, a very, very carbon sparse environment. Then there's the carbon offtake, or the carbon credit offtake will pay for the work to be done. This is one means of upscaling to different geographic nodes, because what we want to do is replicate this model, adapting it for each environment, given the scale of the project. One of the essential things, of course, is to be able to find offtake partners for all the different products that we're finding. And given the fact that the one advantage of the biochar is that it's sort of agnostic in a sense, because it doesn't matter what type of wood goes into the biochar kiln, as long as it's prepared the right way, it's grist for the mill. But the challenge does come in as we move into the landscape. Different species, different sizes, different ages, different topography informs how much biomass and what comes out of the field. So you have to be very agile to be able to adapt this. And this is adaptive. I think this is the key knowledge that we have, is this is not couched around a single product. It's about being able to adapt to the different species to address different product streams. And so the idea is that as we grow the revenue viability, the financial viability of the for-profit side of the company, which is solutions, we work in partnership, we are able to put money back into the further rehabilitation and further clearing. That very expensive follow-up work that was mentioned by Louise from FBA is exactly the problem. You often see vast numbers of aliens spring up where the follow-up simply hasn't been done. And actually, you've wasted all the money that went into it in the beginning, and it becomes complete lost cause, and far worse off than it was before. So the idea is that it is a win-win solution for people and the environment. What can we do to solve this environment crisis long-term, so that it actually has longevity, has traction, and we have a result? And at the same time, with all these people being essentially seasonally employed before, how do we make sure they have meaningful long-term employment that pays them more than a living wage, makes it possible to actually increase their living standards substantively? So it's the quintessential social environmentally responsible business. It's everything that any supporting company, any off-taker could happily hang a shingle on and say, this is truly a sustainable and eco-friendly solution, creating resilience for us for the nation across the board. So I hope I didn't ramble too much through all of that. We've kind of hit on the high points. I'm sure there'll be questions I wanted to quickly just say how it pertains to the building industries. Of course, we're interested in the whole low impact building material side of things. So we're inviting people to come forward and come with ideas around perhaps micro houses or whatever. So I hope that has covered everything we needed to at this stage. Carla, did I leave any holes?
No.
Okay, good.
Well, we'll find out at 5 o'clock if they start asking you questions.
I'm just going to make it up then. So.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for watching this RCSA video segment. Like and subscribe for more inspirational content.